So Chag Sameach to everybody. It's such a delight to welcome you all here, both our regulars and our visitors, on this special day of Shavuot. This is the day on Shavuot that we celebrate the giving of the Torah by God to Moses, as you heard this morning, so beautifully read by Ariel. He read the Ten Commandments. There is a discussion amongst the rabbis what it was exactly that God said, what it was he actually gave us, and I'm not going to go into that now because it's far too long and protracted for a sermon this morning. Now, in addition to receiving of the Torah, on Shavuot we also read the book of Ruth. There are some congregations that read it today on the first day, and there are other congregations that read it on the second day. It's our tradition here at Shaare Zedek to read it on the second day. And so you're going to be hearing it tomorrow for those of you who feel so inclined to join us. It's going to be a beautiful rendition by Elise, who's going to be leading us in the book of Ruth tomorrow. The book of Ruth is possibly the only book of the Torah that passes what we call the Bechdel test. So the Bechdel test is, in case you don't know what that is, in short, it is the measure of representation of women in fiction. It asks whether a work features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than a man. And this, of course, passes that test. The book of Ruth offers perhaps a surprising assertion that redemption comes through the love of a non-Jewish woman for her mother-in-law. And through love for Naomi, Ruth came to join the children of Israel. She came to join the Jewish nation, and she came to join the people to become the ancestor of the house of David, of King David, the lineage from which the Messiah, the Mashiach, is said that will someday come. Now, it's no less astonishing to recognize that even today, it is widely recognized phenomena that the Shaare Zedek, that is the reference, by the way, the Shaare Zedek is the reference to righteous Jews by choice, often become leaders in our community. And I have to tell you that I very proudly sit at board meetings, and I look at those around the table, and I think we can count, at the last count, 20% of our board of directors is made up of people who chose Judaism by choice. So for me, it's very special. And perhaps it's less surprising that when we recognize the connection between the giving of the Torah and the role of Jews by choice. The moment of the giving of the Torah is a distinctive moment in the history of the world. One of the 19th century Hasidic masters, Rabbi Yehuda Lev Alter of Gur, also known as the Sfat Emet, describes it as a moment of complete clarity and freedom in which each of us could see truly into our own souls and recognize the uniqueness of each individual soul. But there is another essential aspect of the moment of Matan Torah, of giving of the Torah. The Midrash comments on the verse in Deuteronomy, in the book of Devarim, and I want to quote you exactly. It says as follows in the book of Deuteronomy: "But with those here with us standing today, and with those not here with us today." So the Midrash sort of explains. The sentence doesn't say at the end, "with us standing today," but rather, "with us today." You would think that if it started off the sentence, "but with those here with us standing today," then it would continue on, "but those not standing with us today." That's not what it says. It drops the word standing. And it says that at the end of the sentence, it doesn't say standing today, but rather just with us today. Now, this is not just a mistake or an error in the Torah. There's a very specific reason why it's like that. And one of the reasons it's given is because there are souls, the rabbis teach us, that will be created in the future who do not have substance, about whom standing is not mentioned. For even though they did not exist at the time of the giving of the Torah, each one received that which was his. Now, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, another great sort of Hasidic master on Parshat Bamidbar, says that every Israelite is a letter of the Torah. And not one can be missing. Because you know what happens if there is a letter missing from the Torah thus is incomplete and it becomes pasul. You cannot use it for ritual purposes. So we can think of these future souls that are going to join, that were not standing, but that will be born. We can think of those future souls mentioned in the Midrash in one of two ways. Both the obvious meaning, of course, that it refers to future generations of children that will be born. That's it. It's very simple. But I prefer the second way, that it also refers to all souls who choose to join the Jewish people. There is a wonderful rabbinic passage that offers the opposite idea. The Midrash Tanchuma asks, why is somebody who chooses Judaism by choice more precious in the sight of God, blessed be he, than those who stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, that actually were part of the Jewish community at the time? And one of the sages of the Talmud, Rish Lakish, said, if those who stood at the foot of Mount Sinai had not experienced the thunder, the flames, the lightning, the quaking of the mountain, and the sound of the trumpets being blown, they would not have accepted the yoke of the kingdom of heaven upon themselves. Whereas those Jews by choice, who of their own free will and accord chose Judaism, who witnessed none of these things, makes themselves acceptable to the Holy One, blessed be he, because there was no reason other than their desire to accept the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. And therefore, can there be anyone more precious to God than somebody who takes on the yoke of heaven voluntarily? Now, although these might seem to be opposing ideas, I'd like to try and merge them. On Shavuot, when the entire nation of Israel stood face to face with the fire, the spark, and the flames, as we're told, the spark that was in each of us danced together with God in joy out of receiving the Torah. But when the fire looked out among the people standing under the mountain, God saw letters were missing from the Torah. God, who knows every letter in the Torah in its place, knew that there were missing unique sparks and asked, where are my holy sparks? Where are my precious ones who accepted the yoke of heaven without hesitation? And at that moment, we're told the sparks of all future souls who would ultimately join the children of Israel. They are the ones that appeared and completed the Torah, and thus they are here with us today. So as we return to the question of why Ruth is the text to which the rabbis turned to sanctify this holiday of Shavuot, this question is best addressed through asking the much larger one, why is Ruth the progenitor of redemption? And one of the reasons that is given is that Ruth is the paradigm of love and presence. Her love for her mother-in-law is boundless. The love is an essential part of the Jewish tikkun, repair of the world. That is the mission of Torah. and the mission of the Jewish people. And that tikkun, that repair, cannot happen unless every letter of the Torah is present to complete that vision. And today on Shavuot, we recommit, as we do every year, to the holy vision of a world of love, a world of peace, and of a world of justice. For us to do our tikkun to the world is only possible if we fully accept the message of the Torah, which means that each of us needs to make sure that every spark of the Torah is accepted and every spark of the Torah is loved. It's not about who converted what, where, which branch of Judaism. That's all nonsense. The minute somebody accepts the yoke of the Torah, they are one of those sparks that completes the words of the Torah. And thus today on Shavuot, we must receive every person who wishes to be part of that mission with boundless love and full of acceptance. On Shavuot, when we have a glimpse of complete freedom, a glimpse of the truth that is within us, each and every one of us, we are blessed to reveal the shining souls that have joined us by choice. In the vision of the Torah, a vision that recognizes the inner truth of each of us, that every soul is bright with a holy flame of God. And so at this time, what I want to do is I want to say to you, my dear students, please rise. To you, my dear students, past and present, I officially welcome you home as a fully fledged member of B'nai Yisrael. I want to offer you the following bracha. Our God and God of our ancestors, you called Abraham and Sarah to make your sovereignty known to all humanity. You summoned Moses to teach Torah, thus bringing all humanity, both near and far, and closer to you. We now ask you to grant blessing to those who are standing, those who chose to place their destiny with the children of Israel, those who stand before this holy ark of the Torah, stand before you as part of the people of Israel who stood at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, choosing to accept your sovereignty and the mitzvot of your Torah with love. And may they now live as true and righteous members of your people, the people of Israel, embracing the heritage of the past, sharing both the burdens and the joys of our present, and anticipating the glory of our redemption. Adonai, God of Israel, spread over them your shelter of peace. Grant them the treasures of your blessings in a life of Torah and ma'asim tovim and good deeds. And together we say, Amen. I'm going to ask you each to come up to the bima, please.